Welcome to Conversations with Educators, where we bring educators from across the country to talk about topics like college and career readiness, graduation tracking, teacher growth, assessment coordination, master scheduling, staffing, and more. Let's get started.
Okay. Hello, everyone. People are hopping on, which is great. Happy to be with you all today. My name is Laura Miller, and I am with Education Advanced, particularly the product Test Hound, and we are excited to bring you another one of our amazing webinar series, Conversations with Educators. We've had some good ones already this year, and this month we are focusing on compliance chronicles and navigating K-12 testing laws and policies. Just going to go ahead and go through the agenda so that we can get to having our fabulous guest speakers do their thing. We're going to introduce our guest speakers. We're going to discuss our guiding question, which today is: how can education leaders diligently adhere to all pertinent laws and regulations around assessment? And then we'll do some Q&A, a little housekeeping. I want to also introduce Craig Dickey, who's with us representing Test Hound and Education Advanced. The chat should have been enabled for everyone to be able to pop questions in. And Craig will be looking at that chat, hopefully responding to questions as they come up, and then also stopping me if there's something that we need to address for the big group. So feel free to ask questions as we go. And it is my pleasure to introduce three amazing people that work really hard on the behalf of educators and students and everyone in their districts to make things run smoothly in the world of assessment. I'm going to let them here in a second share just a little bit about their background and specifically what all they're involved in. But we have Erin Groeneveld, who's the coordinator of continuous improvement for Lee County, Florida. Kimberly Sass, who's also coordinator of continuous improvement for Lee County. And then Dr. Monica Uphoff, who's the executive director of curriculum assessment and accountability for Birdville schools in Texas. So we have a nice representation of two different states. And I think no matter what state you're in, you're going to be able to get something from them today that will help you and benefit you. So if the three of you wouldn't mind just briefly introducing yourself and telling a little bit about your history and assessment. Erin, if you want to go first, that'd be great.
Sure. Hi, my name is Erin Groeneveld. I'm from Lee County, Florida. I've been in education 30 years now. Started as a teacher, moved up into administration. Now I oversee all of the elementary assessment in Lee County, and we're a fairly large district. We're in the Big Ten in the state of Florida. We also do other things besides testing. A lot of the school improvement plans, summer school, several other things our department handles, but for in this realm, the majority of what we'll focus on is the test coordinating for elementary on my side, and then segue over to Kim.
Hi, I'm Kim Sass. I'm another one of the coordinators in Lee County. I oversee all of the secondary, so middle and high school testing in Lee County. My background, I've been in education I think 17 years now. I've always been in Florida, we call it exceptional student education. Other states call it special education. It's got lots of names depending on where you are. I've done everything from co-teaching to self-contained, severe and profound disabilities. And so I've kind of seen the whole thing. I've been a behavior specialist in a school. And then I was the test coordinator, moved up into the position that I'm in now. I also oversee the national assessments for our high school kiddos. And that's like the short about me.
I guess that leaves me. So I always joke that I'm in shipping and handling, but I can't really say that anymore. But I have a background in elementary education, secondary mathematics, music, tech apps, special ed. I wasn't sure what I wanted to be when I grew up, but I wanted to make sure I had a job. And I've been in assessment over, 20 some years. I don't like to tell because then people start calculating your age, but I've been doing assessment a long time and have moved into integration with curriculum. So I have the K-12 core content areas. I have continuous improvement. I have local and state assessment, compliance, accountability interventions, research and data analysis. And so what's really been nice of speaking to the counterparts from Florida is how much we are very similar in a lot of our work, and how this really is kind of nice to broaden the path to say, oh, you have those pain points too. So I'm looking forward to today. And like I said, I feel like I'm still on my learning journey, but I have enough to be dangerous.
Well, we are very, very thankful, blessed to have you with us today. And I am just going to go ahead and flash up again what that guiding question is. But really, what does this mean? We are interested to hear from you. And I don't want to lead you into too many questions all at once, but just some things to think about. But how do you stay on top of the laws and policies? And especially being in two different states, maybe there's some different methods for each of you, for both of you, for both sets of states. How do these laws and policies affect your workflow? Kind of getting those thoughts going first. So I don't know who wants to jump in and just start talking, but we would love to hear your insights.
So I think I'm going to go ahead and jump in, just to say, I think that legislation can kind of be two different things. It can be this huge boulder in a river that dams it up and causes complete chaos, which then takes us back to our systems to review those approaches and say, okay, now we have to do this, this, and this, right? Or it can be a few pebbles that cause ripples and say, okay, well, we just need to make adjustments. And so it really just depends on the piece of legislation that comes out, whether it's federal or whether it's state, which we're both hit. And so again, the nice thing is we have that alliance with the federal. But the state is just an added bonus that we get to meet all that fun. And then just managing it, for me personally, managing the changes, the only way that I have found to be fairly efficient at that is through different organizations. So I am part of TSNAP, which is our state organization that helps. I'm also involved with Moet Casey and Walsh Anderson, which are law firms that also keep abreast of the educational. We also have consortiums with local districts. So those that are like us and not like us, but still in the area and still kind of having to deal with the same things. And so we are constantly having those discussions, and we also tie into our regional center. So for us, our ESCs are a big source in Texas to support us and really help us manage not only understanding, but okay, what resources are now available to help us do this work. And with that, I'll hand it over to Florida.
Okay, so I think ours is very similar. We have FASA, which is our state administration group like you have. We are fortunate that the testing department from DOE is really good about communicating with us, and they send us all of the new things. We hear often the rumblings of the things that might be coming, so we get to at least a little bit try to be in front of changes, because I think for us, especially this year, Florida is going through a lot of transition. We've got a new assessment, we've got new ways of scoring, we've got new graduation requirements. And so having at least the little ear on the ground to hear the rumblings, like this might be coming, gives us a minute to stop and say, oh, well, what's this going to do for us? And try to get in front of it a little bit.
I think one of the things that we find important to do, to Kim's point, is to utilize the legislation website to follow what's going on, so that we're notified when something is, in the process of being passed. And sometimes that allows us to stay in front of what's coming. So I encourage, because I'm sure that's doesn't matter what state you're in, you've got the ability to follow legislation and bills. And I know Kim and I both do that as well. And then to the workflow, I would say right now, to Kim's point, as well as Florida's going through a lot of change. And with that change is coming graduation requirement changes. Florida is a grade 3 mandatory retention state. If a certain score is not achieved in the spring assessment, and there's a lot of changes around that as well. So we try to follow those And then we really, honestly, sometimes we are just scrambling to change our systems, change our processes. We have to make sure that it goes up the chain before it goes down the chain. And we do that as quickly as possible by staying front of it as much as we can. But like Monica even said, sometimes you just gotta, you take the hit and you scramble to get it out there.
Taking that down. So how do you then, things are changing, things are happening, and knowing particularly Lee County, how many campuses do you have between the two of you that you're coordinating?
150-ish.
Something
And-
like that.
So large district, and then Monica, I mean, not that that makes any, you still have to do the work. How many campuses or do you coordinate with, or do you have to communicate with?
We have 30.
So big or small, you still have to get the word out to now your campus coordinators as well. So what does that look like for both of you in that aspect? Like, now here's all this information. How do I now translate that to my campus coordinators to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing?
Well, I think it's important to give context to the CTC position, right? So if you just examine that for a minute, that is not a consistent position, quote unquote, as you look at across districts, and I'm assuming probably across states. And I always tell elementary and middle school APs, hey, this is a duty that feels like a job, because for us in our district, and it's not the same, right? Because every district can do their funding differently, has that ability. But for us, it's one more thing, oh, I've got buses and now I have testing. Yes, but that's a full-time job, that testing piece. Because for us, now you're talking about, you've got screeners, which is going to lead to progress monitoring, which is going to lead to coding, which in addition, you're going to use that information for 504s and ARDs and LPACs. And then we're going to finally roll into state assessment, right? Because all this data now that you've collected to make decisions, both instructionally and both for state assessments, is going to roll up into this nice package we call state assessment. But there's a lot that takes on to get there, to progress to that point. And like I said, I think that's important to know that role first, to understand that looks very different depending upon where you are and your staffing measure that you have, your formula. And then communicating with them, I feel like we try the Italian spaghetti trick, right? We throw it on the wall and see, oh, does that stick? Oh, that doesn't stick. Let's try another method. Let's put it in a bowl, and so it's really quite interesting, because just as you have different learners in the classroom, you have different learners as adults. So trying to make sure that you communicate effectively and efficiently with them is, it's an act of Congress to get them all on the same page. It's really like herding turtles. I mean, I love them, but it is because this one's out with, I'm chasing a 4-year-old down the hallway who decided not to keep his clothes on that day. And you want me to monitor, curriculum-based assessments and turn in accommodations. And so I think for us, you have to be flexible. We offer office hours. We offer recorded trainings. We offer, just multitude of opportunities for them to interact with us. We offer things before and after work, because often this work is done outside the normal workday. And so it's just a constant, and we do Canvas course. We just happen to use Canvas. You can use other means, but we also have this depository where we put all of this information. So at any time, they can also go back to it. And then we also have this idea of, okay, if you look at all the multiple layers that roll up into the educational system, are we doing our due diligence to make sure when you talk to a DIAG, or you talk to an LPAC facilitator, or you talk to a teacher, everybody has that uniform language and idea of what things are, so that I'm not trying to teach you about accommodations for state assessment. You already have some understanding, so that me as the CTC can go and do the work. So we do a lot of work around educating all the different stakeholders to make sure that when they come to the table to do the work, they're not spending time back here trying to, okay, well, what is that? What is text to speech? That has already been established.
I would say we do a lot of the same things. We send out to our test coordinators a weekly email. We send it every Tuesday at 10 o'clock. We try really, really hard to send it every day, Tuesday at 10 o'clock. So they know and they expect it to come. I would say, I think this year, and Erin can agree, that we have tried harder this year to train all the stakeholders. We're trying to get out of our little comfort zone, and we're talking at the principal meetings and we're at the AP meetings. We met this morning with our 504 equity coordinators. We're trying to make sure that everybody who needs to be is in the know, and making sure that they all have the same message going across. And for us, being such a big district, there's a lot of cooks in our kitchen. So we kind of have to run it a little bit militant sometimes, but the outcome is student success, is where we try to remind people, I'm not trying to be mean to you. I'm trying to make sure you understand. And here's the why. We always try to give the why behind a lot of what we're doing.
I agree. I agree that a lot of things are similar to what Monica spoke to. We at every school in Lee County have the position of test coordinator. However, Florida is got a teacher shortage for years now, and it's not getting better, it's getting exponentially worse. So that is not the sole job of any person in the building. So I agree with Monica. We are trying to, we are expecting all of these compliance pieces and proof of them, and showing us that it is trickled down while they are doing MTSS meetings, chasing students down the hallway. So flexibility is key. However, Kim and I have a walls up on that flexibility. There's only so far we can go, because we've got to take care of the kids in the end.
So you touched on just a few things of way you're communicating with your campuses, but what are maybe some more specific tools that you all use in your districts that help ensure you and also your campus coordinators are staying in line with the state mandates?
We do open labs as well. So Kim touched on that we put out a newsletter every Tuesday. That newsletter is different every Tuesday. It's what's happening now, where should you be now, what should you be focusing on now, and here's what's coming. Of course, if there's things that come down, like we talked about earlier, that come quick and fast, we might have to supplement that. We do open labs where they can come in and ask questions. Sometimes we do targeted open labs. Hey, this is blowing up. We know it. We're going to talk about it, jump on, and we'll do several different times and places that they can do that. We have a website that is for our test coordinators that administrators have access to as well. I think Monica touched on that, a kind of a repository, a place where whatever we talk about, what is pulled down or given to us, is all organized on a website they can access. Kim, am I forgetting anything?
I don't think so.
Monica, anything else to add specifically for you all?
Well, I know for us too, because you're always trying to tie back to that academic leader, which is your principal, right? So we also have, and the APs, which are the CTCs at elementary, middle, and at high schools for us is a designated position, but they have access back to the, we have a leadership board that has all of the key things that are due and when they're due. So it's calendar driven. And back to like the targeted labs, I like the idea of targeted open labs too. We call them office hours, because what we have found is that using Teams has been an effective means for us as far as communicating with our people, and they like the ability to have a quick response too. We're known for being very responsive so that they can continue the work. We're also very clear on, and this is just to give some context, it's not really addressing what you asked, Laura, but here's another thing too that we try to do is, one, we spend time up front talking to people about, look, don't spend 2 hours trying to find a solution to this. Instead, if you, and I want you to have some resilience, right? I want you to have some grit, but you need to reach out to us, because that's what we're here for. We are in front of the computer most of the day, and we can do that stuff for you. So getting them to lean into us is also, I think it's an important piece too. And then as far as the compliance piece, I am the queen of calendar reminders. I mean, I'm all about, hey, this is due. And we have a hard and fast date. And so we always back it up, because I know with human behavior, which is impacted by kids, right? A lot of times you're going to need a little bit of grace in there. And so we try to put a little bit of a buffer. So on this day, it's due, but we know, we have an extra day that we can kind of do some cleanup or help you with those things. But we do a lot of calendar reminders. We also use, we use the typical Microsoft products, Google Forms and things of that nature too, to extract some data from them to say, okay, what do you still, if you can't get on these office hours, what are you doing? But and like training too, we do a ton of training to reiterate that compliance piece. So for example, one of the things in addition to testing is the coding, right? And what are the coding factors for us is the at-risk indicators. So getting people to code kids properly, whether it's one of the demographics, one of the programs or whatever, just making sure that we cycle back that training. And it always amazes me when people say to me, I didn't know that. And I have to bite my tongue to say, okay, well, the 4 email reminders and the 6 emails wasn't enough. Okay. All right. So tell me what's going to work for you. So I would say it's constantly a process, because people coming in are different for whatever reason, good, bad, otherwise. It's not a criticism, but the landscape has changed. And so constantly trying to adjust to say, okay, what's going to help these people? Because this is a tremendous task. What's going to help them with compliance? Because nobody gets up in the morning and says, oh, I think I'm going to mess up testing for the entire campus. I mean, nobody says that. And so just really trying to do that. And I will tell you too, which is my assistant director is actually out. He spends a lot of time out at campuses. So we do we will come to you. We will help you with compliance. We will help you. What does this look like? We do use, and I will tell you for compliance, not that it's not a sales pitch, but we use Test Sound for our compliance piece. It helps us to ensure those accommodations. And so we do a lot of training on and things of that nature as well. All of the softwares that we have just to ensure that compliance. And I think that's something we didn't mention is helping people with systems that are tied to viable products that are consistent in their delivery is critical. Because I remember when we first put in certain products and we asked people like, how much time did this save you? And for them to say, hey, this saved me 40 hours on this test administration. So that's important too, is to constantly have not only all the training and everything, but what product is really going to save you time within the landscape, because time is finite. And so if we can give you back something and know that it's done, I think that's just a huge success. And they feel really good about getting some time back to do other things.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I told you time would go fast. So I do want to ask you, though, from perspective of both states, are there some policies right now that you are really keeping your eye on, things that you're watching that maybe others might want to be aware of too? And that could be nationwide as well.
We are very closely watching kind of what is going to come of our new scoring system and what that's going to look like for us, because inevitably when they change the scores, something with graduation promotion changes. We haven't heard anything yet that says that's going to happen, but that tends to sneak up on us in January. We've consistently for the last few years, every January found out like a new, hey, we're gonna add this to your graduation. And so that's kind of what we're always watching. And I think this year a little bit more than before, because we still don't even know the new scores yet that we've got. Those are coming
winter.
actually, the DOE meeting is today, so we're gonna find out hopefully tomorrow what our new cut scores are.
Wow. And just to put in perspective too, like Erin or Kim, share how quickly you have to start testing kids now in the state of Florida. Like, when does PM progress? Explain the fast test and when PM1 happens.
It's so I had meant to piggyback off what Monica had said when she said moving in then to state testing. That's how Florida used to be, but it's not that way anymore. We hit the ground running. There are 3 progress monitoring dates in the state of Florida: fall, winter, and then spring. And included in that is retake windows, what's called EOCs in Florida as well. I think Kim could probably give a number of how many days they are or are not. The test is not going on. A state test is not going on in Lee County, but the windows are pretty large. So we just closed out. I'm looking up because I'm literally looking at the windows. So it opened August 7th and ran through September 29th. We're going to turn around and it's going to, the second one's going to open in December and run through the end of January. And then we get into the access for L's assessment that's required. And then we get into spring testing with brand new tests in Florida this year. So Kim, do you want to add on to any of the
Yeah, I think
doing in
one
Florida?
of the important things Erin had said, it opened August 7th. Our first day of school was August 10th. So we literally start testing. We try to give them at least a week or 2 to come in and meet their teacher. But we test. I think I have a little pretty color-coded calendar because I'm visual, and we have 2 full weeks and 4 days this school year that someone is not testing. So we do a lot of testing.
That's a lot. That's a lot. So, wow. Okay, Monica, shifting gears now to Texas. What are you keeping an eye on policy wise, or any updates that you're waiting for?
Well, I just wanted to tell Florida though that, you know, we test all God's children. You guys give a whole new meaning to that. So I think for us, you know, we've got a global perspective right now where we're keeping our eye on the voucher situation because of the potential impact to education, period. We're also listening to, you know, they want to test throughout the year, which would have the multiple assessments. I think it would align kind of with what you guys doing. And our EOC does start, you know, we start that in June. So we have June, December, and then we have April, May testing for the high school kids. So we do have that all year long. And then, you know, there's rollouts of bills, like we have the phonics piece, you know, we're waiting for finalized products on phonics, and, you know, we're, you know, pretty soon we're going to be halfway through the year. And then, what is it, House Bill 1605 with all the instructional materials and the implications about parents. And, you know, that bill alone is 60 pages. And some of it is coming into play for 2024, and some of it isn't until 2025. So just, that's the thing too, is we want to plan, but it's really hard to plan when you don't have the details, because the people who made the law aren't quite sure yet what that really looks like. And that's not a criticism, that's just the reality. Is it sounded really good, but what it turned out to be maybe very different.
Well, ending it on a high note, like this is a tricky one, you know, and just that, you know, there's so much that comes into play and so many things you have to pay attention to, and how challenging it is. But I think, again, by these webinars and by finding your organizations in your state, and if your state organization isn't as strong as maybe it is in Florida and in Texas, and finding your people, finding your pockets of people, and realizing you're not alone. That really, I think, has been the biggest goal of what I've wanted to do with these, and what I've really enjoyed about them too, is just bringing a bunch of different people together to help you realize that everybody's facing the same challenges. We're all doing our best every single day, and ultimately we're all on the same team trying to make things the best they can be for kids. And I could go on, I could let this go on for an hour, but I know that's really only supposed to be 30 minutes. And so first of all, I want to profusely thank our guests for spending some of their time, because I know they do not have it, with us today, sharing their insights. And just one last little flash, and reminding you that at Education Advance, the heart of our company is really to make things easier for educators. And Testtown, which I work obviously very closely with, I have had the privilege of watching it impact so many people at the district and campus level, making things easier, saving them time, giving them some resources. But we do have other products. Some of them are for master scheduling. Some of them are for evaluation of teachers. Some are for graduation tracking. So if you have any questions or want to reach out about any of our products, you're more than welcome to do that with me. And I can get you going in the right direction. So, huge thank you. These webinars are also available on demand. It usually takes a couple days for our team to clean it up and get it all nice and pretty and on our website. But just know, if there's something you heard, you're like, oh, well, what was it? What were they saying about that? You can find it on demand and watch it again, and also share with any of your colleagues or other districts. So I do see a couple of things in the chat. Craig, is there anything that we want to bring up before I just say thank you again and we move on and hopefully get some lunch today?
No, ma'am. I think these ladies covered it all, and I do want to reiterate our appreciation for them. If you did have any policy concerns, please drop them in the chat though, so we can take a look at them.
Yeah, you are all amazing. Anyone that was able to join the work you all do every single day, day in and out, it just doesn't get thank you, I don't think, as often as it should. So thank you all for all you do, and especially thank you to our guest panelists for some really wonderful information. And I hope you all have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. If you want to learn more about college and career readiness, graduation tracking, teacher growth, assessment coordination, master scheduling, and staffing, be sure to subscribe to our newsletter. Until next time.